There will come a moment where all of your logic, all of your knowledge, all of your preparation will not be enough. And in that moment, only one thing moves people: a story. We are living in a time where people are forgetting how to truly connect. We are more digitally linked than ever, yet we're more isolated than ever. Loneliness claims 1 in 6 of us today. 1 in 6. So that's a silent epidemic which is killing nearly, according to studies, about 1 million people each year. There have been studies done in 2025 that are showing that demand for leadership and social influence skills are heavily in demand now than they ever were before, and these skills are largely powered by story. That number has jumped 20% since the year 2018. There's a Stanford NeuroLab study that was done in 2025 this year that confirms that a well-told story is 22 times more memorable than a standalone fact. 22 times. So why is that? I think we are starved for genuine connection to each other. Real human stories that move, that motivate, that inspire people. And I'm sure you have felt it in meetings. There's an urge that you might have in meetings or with groups with other people where you have an urge to speak up and speak out and let your voice be heard. Once you do that, it's like your mouth dries up, your heartbeat, you can hear your heartbeat get louder, and then in that moment someone else might speak, and they might speak louder, they might speak smoother, but not smarter, and that person might win the room. And then in that moment, it's like you tell yourself, well, next time, I'll do it next time, and next time really never comes. So if you've ever felt underestimated, unseen, or unheard, well, this story is yours. When I first walked into a courtroom in my early legal training, I honestly thought that airtight logic would win the argument. I thought it would win the day. And it wasn't until my mentor at the time, who was a brilliant young barrister, he said to me, yes, logic is the backbone of an argument. However, it's conviction that makes the other person act. Conviction. And that's when things just changed for me. So at that moment, I began to study one thing that I don't think anyone teaches in law school, not that I noticed when I went through training, and it's what I call conviction storytelling. It's essentially a way of speaking that's not about sounding smart, it's about sounding true. It's the difference between saying something and saying something that people carry with them. And to illustrate this, I want to show you a little diagram that I put together that sets this out in the most simple way possible, and it's just a quick little hack that you can implement at any time when you need it in your everyday life. It's 4 simple moves. You're going to tell the other person a short SAGA, S-A-G-A. So you're going to start with a spark. This is how every strong story, every powerful story begins. Not with facts, not with statistics, but it is a felt truth. It is the pain in your chest when you feel talked over. It is the fire in your gut when someone else takes credit for your work. Your first sentence must punch in the heart, not the head. It must punch in the heart. So here you are saying the one thing that no one says out loud. It is the invisible struggle. It's the real emotion. It's the tension under the surface. You say what the other person is too afraid to admit. So you're going to say things like, I noticed something strange, or there's a pattern that I couldn't unsee, and it was this XYZ. Well, everyone says this, but I saw this, and it's just an opening that you have. It's a very simple, subjective sharing with the other person. You earn trust at this point by being human first, not by being heroic. And the other person's going to lean in because they feel safe, because they feel secure, like you're sharing something, like you're sharing an unknown secret that they think they should be made aware of. So that's spark. Then you move on to number 2, these little binoculars that I've drawn here, adventure. Now, at this point, you're going to show us the moment that you saw things differently. Now, this is, in terms of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, this is your hero's choice. This is not a giant life overhaul that you had. This is just simply the moment that you decided to step out from your comfort zone and see things differently. It's just a small risk or a shift in your perspective that changed or flipped how you saw the situation. So here you might say things like, so I decided to try XYZ. Or, that's when I realized XYZ. Or, instead of doing what I always do, I did this instead, XYZ, and so on. So at Adventure, you're showing us the turning point. You're showing us where your uncertainty was met with curiosity and courage. And that is where the listener, the other person, imagines themselves in your shoes. So you're taking them into your world at that point. And bear in mind, this is all done very naturally. The whole purpose of doing this video is to show you that you never hard sell, you never persuade, you're never trying to push your whatever you think on the other person. You're simply quietly influencing them by telling them a very simple story on your end. And people, because storytelling is a universal human curiosity, a quality, a skill in itself, people will want to lean in, but only if it's done with conviction. So once you've done with Adventure, then you're going to move on to the high point, number 3, gift. Now, at this point, a lot of people might make the mistake of, at this point, persuading or selling or trying to tell the other person how good it would be for them if they did X, Y, Z. No. What you're going to do something a little bit different. This is where you offer not the advice, but the gift, your own subjective insight into the situation, what you saw. So instead of telling people what to think or what to do, what you're doing here with gift is you're giving them a very clear lens to look through. It may be a new principle. It's a tested truth that you have found. So what you could do at gift is you could say things like, so what that taught me was XYZ. What that taught me was XYZ. Or now I look at blank like blank. Now I look at this like this. Or just very simply, I used to believe XYZ, but now I believe XYZ. So at this point, you're not just saying something smart, you're actually gifting them with this little thing here. You're gifting them with a compass. This is a way for them to navigate uncertainty when clarity is not available. It's a gift, and it should be perceived that way by you when you're conveying it to the other person, because then it conveys an energy of generosity, one that is not trying to get something from them, but you're giving them something. You're being generous with what you've learnt, your own insight. And because you're giving them something, they're going to want to listen to what you have to say. So once you've given them the gift, then we move on to the last stage. If you need to use this stage, you may not. You may find that things go pretty rosy from that point onwards. But if you need to use this stage, this is this little ship anchor at the end here. And this is titled, fittingly, Anchor. Not every story that you tell or every attempt or effort to persuade or influence another person is going to go well. People are going to retort, they're going to rebut what you have to say, things might backfire, and that's okay. Not everything is going to go swimmingly. But I include the anchor in this step of SAGA because after you've offered your subjective insight, you need to stand firm in that. You don't let the other person tread all over what you've just gifted out from the generosity of your own heart. This is all about standing firm in your own beliefs, your own experience. You've had all that experience for a reason. You've learned from that for a reason. You're not just going to let the other person trash talk what you've just shared with them. So the anchor at this point is your invisible shield. Not everyone will agree, and that's totally okay. So the purpose of including this step is by setting the anchor and standing your ground, you are effectively turning potential attack into connection with them. I'll say that again. You're turning potential attack into connection with them. And you're going to do it by a way in which lawyers think, in that you're not going to be arguing harder, but what you're doing is you're anticipating their doubt. You're anticipating their doubt of what you've just shared with them, and you're including it in your own humanity of sharing that story with them. So very simply, you could say something like, look, this won't be everyone's truth, but it was mine. So, translation, you're not going to agree with this, but please respect that this is what I had experienced and this is the conclusion that I came to. Or you could say, look, I get the pushback. I totally get that this might sound crazy and you don't have to agree, but just try viewing it from that perspective next time and let me know how you think. So what this 4-step sequence is doing, SAGA, S-A-G-A, is it's building your own emotional anti-fragility. This is a very beautiful life skill because you're surviving scrutiny, not by resisting, but by absorbing what they have to say and reframing it. You definitely do not need louder words. What you need to do is you need to release the words that are your lived truth inside of you. You need to release those, and these are the words, the kind of words that echo long after that moment is gone, long after you've told that story. They stay with the other person. This is the beautiful thing about storytelling. You can influence years after you've told that story to that person. Far more effective than facts or statistics. And this is the beautiful thing, I think, where we are right now in society, because with algorithms doing 95% of the work online these days, the human voice, the real authentic human voice inside of you, it's the human voice which is anchored, which is centered, which is just so beautifully strong and unshakable that just cuts through all that noise. Nothing is more human than storytelling. Not the volume, the authenticity, the truth, the conviction. This is the kind of voice that makes other people say, look, I don't know why, but I just trust her. I just trust him. That is your rarest skill. That's your fire. And that is how you move people, truly. By reminding them of the fire within themselves.